Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's tank tour. Hi, Jim. Today's tour is by Chris, Hurrens Reef. Is it Chris Hurrens? Is that
Yeah,
an assumption?
no. So my name is Chris Hurren, and it just stuck with Hurrens Reef. I don't know why. I could have gone Norfolk Reef or Southeast Reef because of where I'm actually based geographically, but they were already taken, as you know.
Well, I mean, do they own it? Do they own it? Not really.
Uh,
I say do it. Just do it.
Fuck you, Ron.
Hurrens, Southeast Reef and Fish.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris knows exactly how this works. I'm not going to bore anybody with any more chat. So, Chris, take it away, my man.
no. So firstly, thanks for having me. And Ron, thanks for the intro. So how did I all start in reefing? I suppose it started when I was just leaving school. First year leaving school. So you leave when you're 16. It's 1996. Fuck, that was a long time ago. And it's that sort of phase where you go into the summer and you go from doing a paper round to needing to find a job to earn some money during the summer. Anyway, I went from paper round to working at McDonald's, which meant I was doing all the hours God send, and I ended up with quite a bit of spare cash. And at the time, my brother was actually keeping like bearded dragons, scorpions, like corn snakes and that sort of thing. So I ended up tallying along with him one day down to the local pet shop, and in the pet shop they actually had marine fish, and I was kind of quite caught about it. I kind of enjoyed watching them swim around. And I thought, fuck it, why not? I'll invest and spend some of my spare cash on them. So apart from getting drunk the first year after finishing school before I went to college, I then threw all my spare cash at a tank. And I suppose my first fish tank was something probably like, I don't know, about 3 foot by 12 inches by about 18 inches deep sort of thing. So it's probably like 250 litres. And it was put upstairs in my bedroom. So it sat at the end of my bed on top of chest of drawers, nothing fancy. And back then it was kind of like Berlin method. And I actually had to get some books at the library. I'd gone through all of the school, managing to avoid the library, but I leave school and then have to go down to the library. So that was a novelty for me. So I got some books, read up about it. No YouTube or anything like that is now. YouTube, and that makes it so much easier. Just Google what you want to know and it just comes up. So it's great. But yeah, I went down the Berlin method. So lots of live rocks. It's still readily available. No fancy DC skimmers. So I had a almost like, if it looked like homemade sort of skimmer with like an air bubble in it, just bubbling away. And some I can't even remember what sort of lights they were, but on top there were lights. I kept basic fish, basic soft corals, things like toadstools, the tree things you used to get, lots of uglies as well, so funny algae, but it was a very steep learning curve. I suppose I kept that going while I was at college. I then went off to university. When I went away to university, I had to take it down. I couldn't really take it with me. I came back finishing university and then fell back into it because I kind of missed it in some respects. My partner at the time was like, I don't really care, you can do what you like to do. So I started back with things like, I actually went to Wharf Aquatics, which is based up upside of Leicester, I think, somewhere like that, something like that, Nottingham. And I got a 2 foot by 2 foot cube, which was quite a substantial tank. But at that point, I then went through, instead of like going back to what I was used to, like the Berlin method, I still went a ton of live rock, as much as I get my hands on. But I then went to external filter canisters. Don't ask me why. I thought it was just an easy way. I wasn't overly keen on sumps at that point, even though it probably made my life a bit easier. But anyway, so I went down that route. I then bought my first halide light, and it's just something like a 500 watt halide. It fitted quite nicely over the top of the actual tank itself. Like it is, like, that's all I needed. There might be some T5 lights as well, T8s or 9s, whatever they were back then. Just to give it a bit more of a pop with some blue actinics, ATI maybe, something like that. But I then filled this tank with what I had, and I probably had it going for about 2 to 3 years before we then had to move house. So we moved house into more of a, how to describe, we moved for, I can't remember what reason we moved for, but there was no room for the tank. And so we actually then, when we moved, I then get a very small tank, but I cut a hole in the wall underneath the stairs. So I put the tank in the cupboard under the stairs. Having that tank though is quite small. Again, I stuck to my external canister filters, but all it allowed me to keep were things like a few Nemos, so clownfish, some pulsing xenia. I probably still have my toadstools, but it was just something to keep me in the hobby, keep me ticking along, keep me going. Couple of years later, we then moved again, and this time we moved into a flat. And I'm in the same sort of situation now. I live in a house now, which you'll see in a minute. I have an alcove, so I've got a chimney breast with an alcove either side. And at that point, I had an alcove, but the alcove was actually 6 foot wide, so it allowed me to buy quite a significant tank. So it's like 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. And that's my first sump tank I actually bought. But it's back when they used to do like trickle filters. You don't get them now, thank God. But they're like balls, plastic balls, and it made a hell of a noise. And I could
the
not,
old wet dry ones.
oh my God, I could not get the thing to run quiet at all. And my missus at the time was like, that's not fucking staying like that. So I then had to go back to, I got rid of the sump, pulled it all out, got rid of all these balls and I'd throw money at, and just bought 2 bigger canisters to run this thing. Like, I think they were Eheim canisters. I mean, they're quite popular. Just throw all my bio balls in there, carbon media, even like things to pull out the phosphates and stuff like that. So anyway, so that ticked along quite nicely. Again, I threw a ton of live rocks. It's quite easy to get hold of. I then doubled, so I ran 2 halide lights above it. And Christ, I hate to think what the electric bills were, because I can remember back then I was paying, we didn't even think about it, but our bills went through the roof. Looking back at it now, that's probably the reason why, as well as a ton of other things which were going on in the tank, probably didn't help matters.
What are you doing for flow in that tank then? So if you're only using the canister filters, you're obviously not getting quite a lot of output through them.
Yeah, so between the 2 canister filters, which they did give quite a bit of flow, I then had things like just a couple of, probably like Tunzi maybe back then, or maybe Eheim, just some sort of power heads bolted on the side. Probably not many though, because again, I was just using softies. It was very, and I was very just wing it, going with the flow, didn't really know much, gave up reading books, which is getting boring and annoying. And I also started to have other things on my mind as well, i.e. with work and things like that, and going out and enjoying my 20s, early 30s sort of thing. I then actually got separated though, so that's kind of what I was going on to next. So me and my partner actually separated, sold up the flats, got rid of the tank, and then I probably took about 2 or 3 years out of it before I then settled again. I had another flat, but I went back to your favourite brand. I had a TMC little habitat, and I think they do like a 120.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, but so coming back into the hobby, everything had totally changed. So everything was available sort of online. You could start to YouTube and research things a lot more and get a lot more into it. So it made things a lot easier. Even things like, back when I first started, I didn't even think about evaporation and topping up. So my salinity was probably all over the place, which was terrible. Whereas now it's just priority, and that's where it sits steady Eddie the whole time. But back then, it just didn't even think about it. It just didn't occur to me. Testing back then, couldn't even tell you what phosphates and nitrates were. Just didn't matter. As long as the level in the tank and the water level sat where it needed to be, that's all I'm really worried about. And as long as the fish and the corals look relatively healthy, that's all it was really as well. But anyway, I went back to these TMC sort of things, microhabitats. Again, didn't need much in them. They pretty much run themselves. I actually tried to keep things like box fish in these as well, which is more of a specific tank, like some pipe fish as well, which looking back probably wasn't the best of idea. It probably would have been better in a bigger tank. But anyway, that was what it was. Me and my current partner, we then decided she wanted a dog. So I have a 4-legged fur baby as well. So she said, we want a house, so we're going to buy a house rather than living in flats. So we sold up where we were, bought the house we're currently in now, got the dog. And then about a year or so later, they put in COVID hit. My tank, which I currently got now, is a COVID investment. It's probably because I was sitting around not doing it. Well, I was working from home, but I couldn't travel. My work I currently do involves a lot of travel. But at the time, I couldn't travel because of restrictions in place. So, like everybody else, we're just stashing money away, earning a little bit of money, not spending as much, not going out socialising, eating meals, whatever. And this when I then got back into it. To be fair, when I first got back into it, I did fall into watching a ton of YouTube videos. And I think at the time, it's actually Parker's Reef. So I think it was actually when he was then doing his build, where he's now. Obviously, mine's nothing on that level, but it's kind of nice to watch someone from start to finish. And I found him very easy to watch and to absorb it and that sort of thing. So that's kind of good.
He's one of the best. He really is.
Yeah,
The best.
I like his videos. Like I said, they're very sort of knowledgeable, and he relates to it in real sort of. So it makes it easy for me to sort of take on, go from there. Reef Dork as well. His videos are very good, and I found them very easy to watch. And I don't think he's ever done a full-on start-to-finish tank, but lots of the topics he used to cover used to allow me to look at it and relate to. So that just made the whole transition into this tank a lot easier. So anyway, so the tank I currently got. Currently, when I first got into it, it was a Red Sea Reefer XL 300, just like yours, but it's Gen 1. And like I said, I have an alcove, so you can see where this is sat now. This is about a 3 foot, just over a 3 foot alcove. I then have like about a 4 foot chimney breast, and on the other side, I have another 3 foot alcove. Originally, it sat over in the other alcove next to the windows, though, so a bit of a mistake to start with, but it's kind of where I wanted it to be with to start. It started really well, but then I actually moved it because there is a slight imperfection in the glass itself. So you can see it here. Well, just for example, it was back here on the tank. It's just like there's a small, it looked like somebody had buffed it with sandpaper. And it just got worse and worse. And it wasn't nothing I was doing. Originally, I thought it was just me getting sand caught under the cleaner when I was doing it, but it was nothing like that. It just got worse and worse. You could see it slowly spreading up the pane of the glass just on the edge. So I reached out to Red Sea. They said, yeah, it's just an imperfection in the manufacturing process. So they must come across it quite often. And they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, at the time, it was actually when the reef mats were coming out. And I said, well, I don't really fancy changing the whole tank. How about you just do a reef mat and we'll call it quits? And they agreed to that, so that's fine. But they're sold out of reef mats, and I wasn't going to be able to get a reef mat for probably about 6 months because they'd all gone into all their distributors up and down the UK. So I said, well, fuck it, just send me a tank. Now I thought I'd just joke about it. But 4 days later, there was a tank sat on my drive again for me to drag in. I then had about 6 months deciding when I was going to do it and how I was going to do it. And I then moved away, and you can see I don't have the original Red Sea stand. And this is probably looking at things like Parker's Reefs when he was doing it. Don't be wrong, this is totally overkill probably for what I've got, but I wanted it to be there for the duration. I didn't have to worry about it. Like I say, I go away quite a bit. I don't want to worry about a wooden stand going wrong, maybe failing when I'm away. So this thing's as solid as a rock. You can't go wrong, and job done. Also, it does allow me to eventually, and I probably should have done it. So I moved my one to the other, and I could set this one up and just move it straight across, so it was very easy. But either side of the tank, and I'll show you in a minute, you've got about a 3-inch gap either side, and I could probably go front to back about another 2 or 3 inches. And the Red Sea tanks, they don't sit at 2 foot, they sit at like 22 inches. And I'd like to go maybe 24 foot water level, but maybe 26 foot total. And I'd like to have it braced as well. And looking back, hindsight, I should have probably done that before moving it all across. And yes, that's pretty much where we are to get me to where I am today.
So that is a Red Sea 300 XL on a custom stand.
Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, like you say, it's just a Red Sea. The glass box is all I've got left now.
So is that a Gen 2 they sent you to?
No. And that's the annoying thing.
Again.
Yeah, and it was probably one of the last ones they had. That's what I mean. It turned up so quickly. It literally turned up like 2 or 3 days after me saying to them on the phone, sod it, just send me a tank. And it just randomly turned up. And it took me, so when I was in the process of deciding how to move it and what to do, they actually released the Gen 2s, and they're a lot, from what I understand, they're a lot better. They've got all the armoured sort of seals. They've got, I don't know, does yours have bracing? I think it's only after like the 500s or 400s it goes to bracing, maybe?
Yeah, no bracing on mine, no.
Yeah, but you've got the armoured seals, which when you're scraping away would put me a bit more at ease.
Made no difference to mine, Chris. I'm on number 3.
Yeah, well, do you know, that's the thing. And I think everybody moans about Red Sea and the actual tanks, but I think I always look at it. It's probably like a numbers game. They sell so many, you're going to get some fail, like you do with any brand and manufacturer. It's like I look at it as cars. I used to sell cars years and years ago. BMWs sell hundreds of the things. You're going to get one go wrong eventually. Things like Peugeots, they sell thousands of the things, and you're going to get a higher fail rate because you're selling more of them. It's not because they're bad cars. It's just because there's more of them out there and more fail.
It's like just, golden retrievers are known as one of the most dangerous dogs in Britain, but it's because there's more of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but like I said, I can't fault Red Sea. The support they gave me in swapping the tanks, that was great. The support over the phones was great. And to be fair, I've been happy with the tank ever since. It's just looking at it, I should have probably swapped it then rather than filling it up, moving everything across. It would just been easier to get the tank I really wanted. And I don't know why I didn't, to be fair, because it would just been would have been easier. Because now I've got to, at some point, got to decide what I want to do long term. So
you're happy with the tank, and you would buy Red Sea again?
and it's that's the other thing. So, like I said, I've got a chimney breast here. If I could remove the chimney breast, I could probably have like what Reef Talk has, like a 750 or 850, whatever it is, spread it across. And I would probably go an all-in-one, and just for ease, and having the bracing in place and the build quality, from what I understand and what I've seen, is a lot better, and they're a lot more solid. Not that anything's gone wrong with mine. The seals always look good. I check most days when I'm here. I think even my missus she's listened to enough of like the YouTube videos I watch to understand that potentially there is a risk that a seal could fail, but it's not just on Red Sea. Seals can fail on anything. So she does look at them when I'm away, and I don't know whether she gets worried and paranoid about 300 litres of water just pouring onto the floor while I'm away and what to do.
I mean, I've had my tank replaced twice now, but I'm not prepared to shit all over Red Sea. I'm not.
Oh, no.
Shit happens.
No, I wouldn't shit over them at all. And like I said, you'll see, I have other products from Red Sea. Don't get me wrong, they had their issue this week with the fucking Wi-Fi connection, which has irritated me a bit because it's something to do with the IP addresses. They seem to have been almost like blacklisted with BT, who I have my internet connection with. Can I get around it? I can do, but it means I've got to loosen some of the restrictions in place on my box, which I don't want to do because for work and I don't know how work would appreciate me reducing the risk of people hacking into my, I don't know, whatever. So will I do it? No. So every time I want to access the Red Sea devices on now, I just have to switch to Wi-Fi from my phone and just access it via Vodafone, just by cellular, which is a bit of an annoyance, but it still works. I still can't complain. I still access it when I'm away. So it's all fine. Yeah. Do you want to go around top bottom, or you got any questions? Or
no, I was just going to say I don't. There's only one reefing app I have never fallen out with. Well, to be fair, I've never really had a problem with Apex Fusion, to be honest. I mean, I've had some issues with a couple of bits and pieces here and there, but not the app. But the Sentia Dose app is the only one I have to say never had an issue.
No, the Red Sea app I find very easy. People slate Ecotex one, which I have a few products on. I think the only reason I didn't like the Ecotech ones is because I used to use Versas, and I didn't like the way you had to set up a Versa to get it to do what I wanted to do. The dosing on the Reef Dose is just very intuitive, and it just almost predicts what you want it to do. Don't get me wrong, the Versas are built solid. If you want to do a continuous dosing for, like, I don't know, water changes, or I used to use dripping calc all day long, they were great. But the app just didn't find it just wasn't as intuitive as maybe I'd wanted it to be. Whereas the Red Sea one's a lot more, it's like they put a lot more thought into it, like with some of the other products, like the Reef Mats, for example. When you compare them to the other ones on the market, they just seem to have thought about things like the connectivity, understanding how much paper or how much roll you're going through, when it needs to be changing, it alerts you, which is great. Changing the roll itself is a doddle. It takes like about 3 or 4 minutes to stick a new roll on, feed the old one through. It's just so easy, and it just, for me, that's what I want. I want an easy tank to look after. I don't want to have to be spending hours and hours on it looking after the thing. So yeah,
I think people over the face of this earth hate Mobius than love it, and I think for the amount of money they charge for their products and how many products they do sell a year, they really should be doing a little bit of investment in that.
Yeah, but then it's the same with everything, isn't it?
Mobius
people always moan about GHL, and to be fair, I would have maybe gone down the GHL route if I'd had better feet, because I like the idea of the German engineering, ingenuity, that sort of thing, and I like the looks of some of their products, like the dosing and some of the sort of the equivalent of the Apex and stuff. But because of what you sort of said about the actual accessing it and setting it up and programming it and stuff, it's just for me, I just want it to work. I don't want to have to be sort of making adjustments. I have an Apex, but I don't go, you'll see, I don't go down the full route of setting up all the redundancy. I've got just a basic Apex Junior because I just want to have the connectivity to the tank to understand what's going on. I don't necessarily want it to be doing things for me or me programming it to do things for me while I'm away. I'd much rather be able to hop on the phone and say to the missus, is the tank looking all right? Because Jenny, unless it's a doser stuck on or a failed heater, there's not much else she's going to be able to do for me. If it dumped, like when I was dosing calc, if it dumped like 20 litres of calc in a day, first off, it'd be pissing over the top of the sump probably. But secondly, if I'm away, what's she going to do? There's not much she can do. So, yeah.
Russ, did you have a question? Sorry, I just heard you saying, I just heard the word Mobius.
Yeah, and Mobius is a huge improvement over ReefLink. So it's not like Ecotech has learned their lesson with their software.
Nope, I totally agree. ReefLink was dog shit.
Yeah, that's a little box, wasn't it? I never actually, I can remember seeing them when I was first getting into it, but I never actually used one or seen it. But
you could connect your stuff remotely though, and now you can't.
Yeah. So that, for me, that's what I wanted. And that's where I always wanted, I kind of an Ecotech boy when I started. I liked the product, liked the build quality, liked what it done. Like with the MP40s, they're all cableless, you don't have them in the tank, that sort of thing. The XR15s that I have above the tank, they run great, they do what I wanted to do. There's plenty of other people out there who use them, the feedback's generally good. Are they the best in the world? I don't know, but they do what I wanted to do. That's kind of what I wanted. So, and it's all linked into the app. It would be nice about to, it's things, necessarily the lights and the pumps aren't things I want to access. When I was doing calc, that's when I would have maybe wanted to access a Versa if I could see that things were happening when it shouldn't have been happening. It'd be nice to be able to dial in, change it, maybe what I was dosing, or just kill it totally. But because it's just all Bluetooth, you can't do that. There's certain products I would like to have connectivity with, then others I'm not fussed with.
Yeah, there's only been one time in my entire time reefing that I really wanted to connect to my MP40s remotely. And I saw, literally live on camera, a fish get stuck to the power head. Before I went to bed, I fired up the camera and there it was, and it was a copper band, and it was just swimming around and then stuck onto it. If I'd been able to log into that remotely, I should have been able to have just killed that pump. But see, out with that, 8-9 years, nah, don't need it.
No, exactly.
Pretty amateur that is, Ron. Steve did it live on air for you.
Yeah, well, I heard Lee shouting, Steve!
Steve.
Yeah, see, but there's been a couple of times where having the connectivity to tank has saved me. So, like I said, I work away a lot. Last year, I was working for a Canadian-based company. Normally, my trips are only like 3 or 4 days, and it's normally hopping around Europe somewhere. But when I was based over in Canada, I'd done a 14-day trip, which involved me going to Canada and then going down to the US to do some work as well. And I was literally in about day 3 of the actual trip, and my phone had been buzzing all night long. I woke up and my missus was calling because she'd had the neighbour calling because the tank was beeping because the temperature dropped off, and it dropped down to about 22 thing. And I could see this when I woke up, and I was like, fucking, you're kidding me. I'm literally about day 3 into a 14-day trip. What we're going to do? But it's easy for me to be able to look because I have a Reef Factory thermo temperature heat controller, whatever they call it, on the tank. So I could see that it is dropping off, and I could see that it's trying to heat. So it wasn't the actual controller that had failed. It was actually one of the titanium heaters I have. So I was like, shit. So anyway, so I could then say to the missus when she got home, I said, all you need to do is go out to where I make my RO and my little storage thing outside. I have a couple of heaters in the RO bucket, or my little on wheels sort of bin. Just get the heaters out and throw them in the bottom of the sump and just plug them in. She was like, fucking what? Throw the heaters and electric into a sump? And I was like, yeah, just don't worry about it. Throw them both in. It'll be enough to keep the tank going. I can then get on the phone and order some replacement heaters. and then I'll talk you through how to change a proper titanium heater when they turn up, which, to be fair, I use Charterhouse. I don't know if I should say that, for all my stuff, for ease and convenience, because it's always next day. It's just easy for me to log on to their website, order it, and it just turns up. And it's exactly the same thing in this occasion. It turned up. She could then see which one, where it's plugged into, the original one, and just plonk it in. And so it saved, well, I've not saved it. It just sort of, it's peace of mind sort of thing more than anything. Because my worry would be if it got stuck the other way and it cooked the tank. I have probably the bare minimum heaters in there. I think it's now like a 300. So it's probably just over 300 because when I got the sump below, it's probably just over what the other original one was. So I think now it's more like about 330-ish litres of water. And I think originally I had like a 350 watt heater in there, and that was probably that's probably on the border whether it's not enough to heat the actual volume of water. But it happened again just recently, and that was only because the sump, I used to have a little RO water chamber at the end, which used to hold about 20 to 30 litres of water. But I decided I actually wanted the extra space, and around the corner, which I'll show you in a minute, I actually put a bucket or a container around there, which used to originally drip calc for me. I filled that on my RO. I cut the chamber at the bottom of the sump so I could then have additional space in the sump. But that additional, say, 20 or 30 litres of water toppled me over. So when we got a cold snap at the beginning of this year, I was actually over in Rotterdam, I think, at the time. My tank started to, it didn't drop too low, but it dropped about 23, 24 degrees. It was enough to trigger the alarms. And it wasn't the heater had failed, because I told her, just put your hand in the water just to feel the heater. Is it actually kicking heat? And she said, yeah. And I was like, it's probably literally just that volume of water. I've just toppled it over the maximum for the 350 watt heater. So I came back from that trip. I then put 2 350 watt heaters in there now, or were they 300 watts or 350? So it's just that much more now. So it keeps it together at a nice steady 25-ish degrees. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's stable now.
Yeah. Yeah, it floats from about 24.8, 24.7 to like 25.1. I have that sort of just very slight up and down, which some people want it dead on. Some people want it dead on 25 constantly, and I think you can set it so it probably do that. But
you're clicking on and off a hell of a lot.
And that's what I mean. For me, that's just, again, you're just taking wear and tear out of the thing when it doesn't really need to do it. You get different sort of currents in the sea. You get, it's maybe half a degree colder than what it is there coming. It's not always constant. They do have a little bit of swing in the temperature. So yeah.
Let's take a look at some of this juicy equipment then.
Yeah.
It makes me think it wouldn't be a bad idea to throw one of those little film thermometers on the outside of the sump, or just a little floating one, a little glass one inside.
Yeah.
Just as backup to the electronic reading.
So I'll tell you what, we start with lights. So like I said, light wise, I have 2 XR15s. They're the pros. They're we're on Gen 6, they're Gen 5s. And like I said, they pretty much just plug and play, set it. I run the AB Plus, but I tend to run a bit more whiter than the AB Plus maybe. I was running one AI Blade Grow till just recently. I then added a second once I had Matt Norfolk Reef around, because I was interested to see what power it was kicking out. Like I said, I set it. They're running at the time, they're running about 80, 85% maybe. Matt come around with his little, I forget what it's called. You've got one now, Ron, as well, haven't you?
PowerWise Pro.
The little power meter, the ITC, is it? Or
yeah, the PowerWise Pro.
Yeah, that's the one. So after having Matt round, we actually tested it. And to be fair, I was getting, I think, about 320-ish at the top, about 200 in the middle, and then probably about 120 at the bottom. So it was pretty much like what people say you probably should run. But I did want a little bit more maybe at the top. And plus, it meant I could then, having the one at the back just means I have the additional spread. So you can see, obviously, it's just right at the back there. And it just covers the back end of the tank. Because you'll see, I've actually started putting, where is it? You see, I've started putting frags on the back of my wall. So that just meant that having the one on the back there just give them a bit more spread, and a bit more capability when it comes to lighting it.
Do you think we could go landscape now, Chris?
No, see, this is the trouble. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you what. Can you see there?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I'll just leave it. It's sort of the way, I don't know why it doesn't do it, but you can see there. So it just sort of hangs over. But they're nice and easy. Like I said, I like the ecotech stuff. Oh.
If you double tap,
Tell you what, let me just take off the tripod. I'm just going to hold you. That'd be easier.
Oh, is that a gimbal you're using?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
you
like
can
a
normally
thing.
put them in the other format. There's a button you press,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is.
double tap, but I can't remember what one it is.
I don't use it very often, so it's just kind of like, for me, when I was sitting down, it's just easier. But to be fair, walking around a tank, it's maybe just easier for me to hold it and walk around. So like I say, I've got two XR15s, two AI blades. They're the grows rather than the glows. I probably need to get a map round at some point. Now I've got the second one on there to
I
test
like
it.
that nice clear acrylic sort of stuff. Does that come with the grows, or did you buy that?
No, so when I was at Love to Reef, I think it was, one of the guys who does all the 3D printing and stuff, he actually had them there. And like I say, they're great. I can't fault them. They're nice and easy to install. There's just like 4 little screws on top of the XR15s. You sort of undo them and put them all in. And it's just nice and easy. And it's just an easy way of doing it, pretty much.
Looks really slick.
Yeah, well, you say this, so I'm a bit jealous and a bit sort of like, should I have bought the additional AI blade? Because I quite like the looks of like your Stratton, and I keep seeing more and more about these Strattons, and whether I should have maybe just
because they're available now. I mean, they've been around for so long, but just
Yeah.
haven't been able to get them here.
Yeah, it's kind of like, because so if you step back, so you see here, so I've moved literally from there to there, which is just a pain in the arse, but there we go. I enjoy sitting there on my coffee in my little chair. I can sit, look at my tank. It's great on a Saturday and Sunday morning, which can't fault it. But eventually, this tank will be boxed in. You see down there at the moment, it's just got the aluminium stand. It will all be boxed in. We're gonna get, so go into my lounge now. You see, I've got another chair there, and if we're in the far corner, we want the same sort of woodwork to be done there as what it is here. So the missus is then happy because it's all matchy and just looks like it should be there. But I kind of like to get a pelmet built in, so it's like, I don't know, like I can install and do like a wire mounted kit above it, but I could also bring the power down from upstairs to the top of it, because at the moment I've now got 4 plugs just for lighting stuck underneath my tank, and because the Strattons, your large one will fit over that perfectly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll wait and see. Like I said, you can see what I was talking about with regards to the gaps down the side of the tank. So you can see that's about 3 inches there, gap, and then the same this side. There's about 3 inch gap there. But I could also come I'd come as far as the wall, and I could go back a bit. So that gives me about another 2 or 3 inches that way. And height wise, I'd maybe go about another 2 or 3 inches up as well. So it just gives me that much more space. But I'll tell you what, let me just. Oh, there you go. You can see.
It's
So underneath-
very, very neat, tidy, and
Well,
organised. I approve.
Yeah, you say this, and everybody sort of says, because to be fair, everybody likes it when they come around now. So my my dining room table is there. So when we sit down and have like Sunday lunch or Christmas lunch or whenever, just people come around for barbecues and that in the summer, everybody sits at the table. And they're a bit like me, because I spend more time looking underneath the tank, like most people, tinkering and playing with shit. And they actually love to see what's actually going into the tank to make it turn over and tick over.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, but the tank, so the tank is central to my house. I'm all open plan, so as you can spin round, you see my kitchen. So the missus sits over there cooking. I can make a coffee. We're all looking at the tank. You sort of come into there's a corridor that way, but everybody sort of looks at the tank, and it sits very central to where we are. Even at night, I sit on my sofa, TV's there, but fish tank's there. So I sit on the far left and sit and watch the fish tank play more than I watch the TV.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's got to be relatively.
He's probably got one of the cleanest sumps I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So I do have a relatively clean sump, and I do water changes. So I change a good 10% every week. I wheel my bucket round. I have one of those what are they called? The siphons. Oh Christ. That's like a gravel vac, but is it a siphon? Python. Python. And it's connected to the actual water, to a tap. So you turn the tap on, it gives you the siphon, it pulls the water through and throws it straight down the sink. Because, like I said, my kitchen is just there. You can see the sink is just there. Just undo the bottom of the tap, connect the siphon to it, run the cable over, and I literally suck out all of my sump every week. So hence why my sump does look. There's not any detritus or any crap in it at all. So it is nice and clean, nice and tidy.
When I did manual water changes on our big system at home, that's exactly what I did. I just pumped every drop of water out of the sump and pumped it back into the sump, so the tank didn't even know the water change happened.
Yeah, no, exactly. There are occasions who, like, at least once a month, I might just quickly run the gravel back over the actual sand in the tank, just to get rid of some, to make it a bit cleaner. Yeah, just to give it a once over, really. I think it's good for the tank. It saves the build-up of shit in the tank as well. And I tend to know because I tend to get like a brown, dusty sort of build-up on top of the sand sometimes, especially in the corners at the back of the tank. I think that's just the way my pumps are. And realistically, I probably should look at getting some more pumps at the back of the tank rather than, wherever. But looking at, so like I said, I am a bit of a Red Sea fan. So you can see I've got the Reef Mat. It's the Reef Mat 500. It pulls out a ton of shit. It is nice and easy to look after and maintain. Like I said, when the app works, it's great. Even with the connectivity issues, it still allows me to do it over cellular, so that's not a problem. I have a little Deltec. It's a DC one. I think it's a 14 or 1600. I forget exactly what it is now.
It looks like an i400.
Is it an i400 or
Yeah.
I forget exactly what it is. But I've not had any problems with it. I did have a problem with the first pump I had, and it just wouldn't work. But to be fair, they swapped it out and changed it quite quickly, so it resolved that, which is great. The Reef Dose, you can see there with all its fancy colours and shit like that coming out of it. They run down to, you can see right at the very back. So I run Modern Reef on my tank, and I have 4 2.5 litre containers wedged in at the back, and they fit perfectly, thank God. So I once every 2 months, I think 2.5 litres runs on my tank, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. I have to pull them out and change them. But apart from that, it does make my life relatively easy. Because like I was saying before, I used to drip calc. So if you come here, just move the chair. So behind the chair in the lounge, I have you can see the container there. That container holds about 25 litres. I've got the Trident next to it, which drives my missus nuts because it goes off 4 times a day, and maybe Jenny once a day. She's in the room, like it went off at 3 o'clock when we started the call, actually. It's just that high-pitched buzzing noise which drives her nuts. But you see, so originally I've drilled some holes in the wall, so I used to be able to fill drip and have a little verse. You can see where I've actually still got a mount for the verse on the wall. So I used to drip calc steadily into the tank 24/7 to look after things like the alkalinity and calcium. I then used to use the Red Sea doser to dose the magnesium. And at the time, I was then running, what was I running for elements? It's things like, I used to use KZ, which is German stuff, and they used to do like I think it was ABC or 1 2 3 4, maybe it's 1 2 3 4. But what I liked about it is you could take the full weekly dose and throw it in your tank in one go, rather than me having to worry about doing it, dropping it in every day during the week. Because like I said, when I go away, my missus is okay feeding the fish and dropping some seaweed in for the tanks and stuff. Oh, but she ain't going to be dropping droplets all over the place. So she's like, no, I ain't doing that for you. So yeah. But now it's just my ATO. So there's about 25 litres of water in there. It lasts about 7 or 8 days, I suppose. It'd be nice to have a bigger one, but for the moment, that's what it is. And the Trident's there. The Trident is just there for more, just for me keeping an eye on the tank when I'm away. Return pump, I have a nice Ecotech S2 to stick with the Ecotech side of things. And I have a NIOS sort of reactor, which runs the NIOS Fozzy X or whatever it is to keep my phosphate down. Originally, I used to run a NIOS skimmer as well. But with it being an AC one, after about 2 years, I found it got very, very loud. It used to drive me nuts. So hence why I switched over to the Deltec version.
Mine just wouldn't skim anything out of the water. I thought it was absolute rubbish.
Oh, no, see, now skimming wise, I used to find it was great. And to be fair, the Deltec does a good job.
Deltec are brilliant.
Yeah, no, I like the Deltec.
Deltec fan myself.
Yeah, I think I toyed with the ideas to go with what is a Royal exclusive one. They do the smallest one they do is like a 1600, but then it was a throw up. Well, if I got a big skimmer, I wouldn't need to have a reef mat. But I'd already got the reef mat, and I was like, oh fuck, what do I do? But I stuck with a Deltec, and like I said, I can't fault it. It's bomb proof. It just goes and goes and goes. I
My
do clean it
first
quite a bit.
skimmer was a Deltec, and I still have it, and it still runs.
Yeah.
10 years nearly.
Yeah, so you can see there the probes. So that's just basically the pH probe and the temperature probe for the Apex. I run an Apex Junior with the Trident, and the only reason I went with the Junior is because, like I said, I don't want all the controllability. And to be fair, Charthouse done a very good deal where they packaged the Junior with a Trident together, and it's just nice to have. It's one of those things I don't need it. I check it occasionally. It annoys me a little bit because sometimes it's I used to use the Hannah checkers for like things like alkalinity, and it's almost like a full no, it's about half DKHO, what the Hannah checker says to what the Trident says. Even though when I recalibrate it, it still does it. But it's for me, it's just watching the trends. So I know over the course of a month that it's always going to be half DKH, and I just need to check it. Well, I just need to add it on, so it just makes it easy. On the back wall, I've got a full setup of all the controllers. I run the Tunzi sort of ATO, and like I said, I run the Reef Factory there, ticking along, looking after the temperature for me. Oh, the only other Red Sea, I have a Red Sea Reef Wave in the tank as well, which is one of the gyro ones. So it's quite a nice mixture, really. Having the MP40s and a gyro is quite a nice mix. But yeah, I've got tons and tons of cables. So to get rid of 4 plugs and replace it with a Strat, we'd be able to reduce 4 plugs in the back here, and I could actually have my stuff. I have started to have to dose some nitrates. You can see at the back there, because I used to have little stack of bio balls in here, and over the course of about the last 2 weeks, I've started to see my nitrate dropping. It was steady at about 8, but the last 2 weeks it just seems to have dropped and dropped and dropped, and it got down to about 4. And I was like, "Fuck! I don't want it." But I'd prefer it to be steady at 10. To be honest, I'd much rather be steady at 10 rather than getting as low as it did. So just recently, I've been throwing in some nitrate just to keep it steady, which it has. But it'd be nice for it to just sort of, I don't know why it's dropping all of a sudden. Maybe just coals are having a bit of a growing spurt, but who knows? Anything else in the tank? I do have a little AI Nero pump down there. When I was dripping calc into it, it just allowed it to sort of allow it to mix a little bit better. Because sometimes I used to find I was getting like at the bottom of the sump, there was just a build up of it over time. But at the moment, you see that's where all my dosing cables actually come into the tank there. So it just does a good job of mixing it all as it comes in. I do run a CO2 scrubber. I think that's an ice cap one from memory. Because I did notice quite a big difference in my pH. So when I was running Calcwasser, I actually used to go from probably about 8.3 as a low to about 8.5, even 8.6 sometimes, really going high during the summers when all the doors are open as a high. But coming off of that and going to the modern reef stuff, it's now my pH has dropped to more, it gets to down to about 8 and then peaks at about 8.5, 8.3, sorry, during the day. And that's on a good day. Recently, being it's cold here in the UK at the moment, all the windows are shut, all the doors are shut. Everybody's inside breathing away. So my pH has dropped down to about 7.9 over the night sometimes. But yeah.
Keep your window open, mate. Fuck it.
Well, no, see, that's what I mean. The doors are there, and normally just behind there's some windows, and there's a window open now, but the missus shuts the curtains. So there's no fresh air really coming in. So I'm like, fuck, what can I do? But there we go.
I'm a huge fan of power heads and sumps, by the way. I'm impressed. I'm impressed to see that.
Yeah, no, me too. And I forget who I was watching. I can't think who it was, and it might have been something like, I can't remember what it is. But I stuck with the AI ones are great. I haven't cleaned it since it's been in there. It's probably been in there for like 3.5 years now, and just keeps going. It's one of I clean my MP40s regularly, on time, all the time. If that just sits in the sump, I can't forget about it really. So that's something else I really wish I would have done. So you see the pipe work. It's just the original Red Sea stuff. And I wish I'd got the balls to actually do some of my own pipe work when I'd done it. But that'll be another reason to change the tank so I can redo the pipe work and have the pipes coming in the way I want them to, rather than running across the back and stuff, just getting in the way more than everything. They just come straight down, really.
Yeah,
I
they
can run the
sell
pipe in.
the kits that screw on to the bottom of those weird pipes, and then it transfers straight down to 25 mil piping. All miners.
So literally you just get converters to go on the bottom of the Red
Yes.
Sea ones.
Yeah.
See, that's what I need. And that's something I probably should look into a bit more to actually...
Yeah, you buy the kits on Charterhouse.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I never really thought about it, Paul. Yeah. So the tank itself, I suppose you could class it more as a... What is it? It's more like a mixed reef. You've got some... Well, I suppose we get a bit closer. So...
Looks great.
Yeah, it's like a work in progress. So if we start on the side... I'm just telling you what... Should be right like that. So you start at the bottom, so you've got some nice bits of favia there, slowly overtaking the rock. You've got two frog spawns, one's like a paley sort of pinky, and then your typical sort of green one there as well. Got Space Invader Pectinia there. That's sort of, it's not really sort of, I want it to grow outwards, but all it seems to do is doing spreading out, which is a bit annoying.
Looks amazing.
No, don't get me wrong, it's lovely and it's grown a lot. So you can see there, that is literally like, I don't know, it's when you think about my hand, it's like probably about the size of my hand almost now. And it started the size of just, it used to just sit on a frag plug, probably about 9 months ago, I think I originally bought it. I've got some very tucked away mushrooms. They're from when I originally started, I went all LPS. So hence why I've got the frog spawns, the hammers over the other side. And I made the famous mistake of going Montes as like a basic SPS. And I'd run the Montes about halfway up the tank and they just sort of overtook. And so I had to almost do like a bit of a mini reset. I pulled all of the stuff out, the Monty wise, gave it all away, put fresh rock in so I could get rid of it all, and then started again with like the SBS stuff, so like acros and stuff. So you can see there that even further around, so I've got my first, what are they called? The clam. That's the word I'm looking for, clam. It's a good start. Got my tuxedo urchin. I've got some pearl berries there. I was amazed the pearl berries actually, well, it's still okay at the moment, but when I got it home, I dropped it when I was trying to cut off the frag plug and kicked it under my tank, so it came out covered in dust and all sorts. But it's still going and it's looking okay, but it's getting there. Barley Slimer, that's been in there one of my longest SPS, but it doesn't grow. Don't ask me why. I've not got a clue. It just doesn't seem.
Can I ask where you got it?
Oh yeah, so to be fair, I'm a bit of a, when it comes to my acros, I use Christian at Signature Frags. Can't fault him. He's great. Quality service. It's always nice. I can pick up the phone and actually have a chat with him because I'm based in, I live in Norwich in the UK. He's obviously about 3 hours drive away, but he'll still pick up the phone, have a chat about any of the calls I'll pick up and send, and he'll ship them down and they always turn up fine. Yeah, so I've always used, even for like the Space Invader, that's his. Got some Alvia Pora down the bottom there. I don't know where the micrometers or what is it, ACANs. I've got a couple there. They're the ones which are left after sort of clearing out some of the other stuff, but they do quite nicely under there. You can see I've got a nice big chunky bit of Miyagi Talk, which is the bluey stuff and the green stuff in the middle there. That's actually the bit that when Matt came round, he actually, well, I took some quite chunky bits off of it. But as I was doing that, as I was cutting it, the whole thing come off at the bottom. So I then have to reattach it and replant it. But now this bit's actually growing onto the actual rock work. So hopefully that'll secure a bit more for the future.
That looks stunning.
That was a scary experience, Chris. I don't know who was going to cry more, me, my missus, or your missus. And you were just chilled as anything, going, it's fine, don't worry about it.
For me, it was just kind of like, do you know, right? I've had that Miyagi has grown to that sort of size in the last about 3 years. It gets to that sort of size about once every year. And it gets to the point now where I need to cut it and I trim it right back. And before, because there's where I am, there's nobody else around. So it's quite nice finding Matt, because if I ever got anything now, I suppose I can see if he wants some more bits. Or just get rid of it some other way, because if not, I unfortunately have to bin it. So I don't know what to do with it. Nice bit of Pikachu. It's nice yellow with some red sort of polyps, which is really quite nice. You see my clownfish loves hosting the old frog spawn there, which is really quite nice. I, I used to have two clowns, but unfortunately, even though I have a mesh, the little sods, there's a tiny little gap at the back where my lights are. He managed to jump up, and I came in one morning. He was about halfway down the tank, and he's just crusty. So unfortunately, he's just the one now. Yeah, and you go across. So this bit in the middle, so this middle sort of island, I suppose you could say, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I used to have two massive torches there. I think they're like a New York Snicks and just a standard sort of very bright green. Trouble was, they started as one head. And they'd been in a tank probably about 2.5 years, and the New York Knicks had probably got up to about between about 22 heads, I think it was, when I cut it all up and gave it to. So I actually found another reefer just recently, and he took all of the torches for that one, and he took the green one, which then allowed me to then get some more acros. Oops, need to get there. So you see, I've now got. I think they call that green and purpley one there. I think Christian calls it Mervyn Martian. Don't ask me why, I ain't got a clue. Get out of the way. The other one's just a bit of TNT and Acropora, so it's not a full-on Acro, I suppose.
Nice.
And I've got a little frag of a Scully, which I'm hoping it's only been in a tank. I don't know what, probably about 3 months now. It's settled in nicely. It puffs up nicely, but it'd be nice if it grows into a full circle at some point. But from what I understand and what I've researched and looked at, it probably takes a good year to 18 months maybe. But we'll wait and see how that goes. I've got
Everything is so healthy, Chris. Seriously.
It's
Your
all
fish,
quite.
everything.
It's quite, yeah. So and that's my fish is a big well, I say a big problem. So when I first got it, I used to have, like I said, I had another clownfish. I had two more Bangui cardinals in there, and I had what do you call them? Oh, I can't remember what it's called now. It's going to annoy me as well, but I think, and they all went in together. Bangui Cardinals, for some random reason, only after about 6 months of being in there, I found one of them sucking on the MP40s, and the other one survived to literally only about 2 months ago. The thing is, those sort of fish, they only last about 4 to 5 years anyway, I think. And I'm getting a bit paranoid. I don't really want to put anything else in there, but it's not a bad thing because my purple tang, is quite a chunky boy, and my fox face is quite a significant tank fish as well. Are they too big for the tank? I don't know. It's hard to say. They get on like well. If anything, it's the pajama wrasse, the little fucker, which causes the problems. And he seems to wind them up, but he's not too bad. And the cleaner wrasse actually as well. He's a pain in the ass. But again, so the
Big
cleaner
clowns
wrasse.
are the devil.
Yeah, but they've only got shorter lifespan of like maybe 6 7 years. And I've also got a hawkfish. You can see he can't swim very well, bless him. There's a typical one. But eventually, I might just be left with my fox face, my purple tang, and my clownfish. Clownfish seem to last forever. And at that point, I think I don't know what I'll do fish wise because I like the fish. Actually, if anything, when I first started, I was more of a fish person. I enjoyed the fish more than the corals. That's why I started with a lot of LPS wavy ones because I like the movement. Then I seemed to move on to the acros and got more involved with the sticks, shall we say? But like I say, they're all relatively healthy. They've all got nice polyps. You see the ones I don't know if you see them so well on the back wall. I started sticking because I was running out of room. So that's a kind of, I don't know, green plating one. My fox card, I bought that this last week. Oh, what's it called? That's another, it's lovely. Fox Flame, that's one. There's another one over in the corner there. My last little spot for on the back wall will be there. And I've got another little plug I'll be sticking on the wall. And let's just go wait and see what I put there next.
Do you glue them, Chris, to the back wall? Sorry.
They've got like I've got so if you Reef Dork done a whole video because I actually buy the actual brackets from Reef Dork, and they're great. They're nice and easy. He actually suggested the mastic he used. I'll actually show it to you in a minute because I've got it in a drawer somewhere. But you literally stick it on the back. Because I was worried, thinking, well, is it okay to put it in there or not? But it was, and it goes off quite quickly. So you might hold it for a couple of minutes. and then pull it off, and that's it, job done. I tend to leave the MP40 off for maybe like half an hour or so, just to let it go off completely. But yeah, then I know any problems. Then all I do is cut the bottom of the plug off, and then put a bit of mastic underneath the plug, and then put it in the actual hole which is drilled into the bracket itself, so it stays that way. So yeah, so far they've been going well. So I've got 3 that side. I've got one over there, which is one of those. It's like an orange granulosa, I think. It's like, I'd say it's more of a orangey yellowy sort of color, depending on what sort of light you're looking under. But yeah, this is another one. So this is another bit Matt took off. It's an Enchata.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, and
Hawkins.
that does really well. Hawkins Enchata, that's the one. I really like it though. But the trouble is, it does sort of grow out and grow into the middle of my arch, which the tang swims through quite a bit. So trimming it and giving Matt a big chunk of that was kind of quite easy. You see down the bottom here, I've got some rainbow or jelly bean. I can't remember what one it is, to be honest. It's one of the two, but that's doing quite nicely. It tends to like the lower light, and that's hence why it's down there at the bottom rather than putting it up a bit. I've got some of the not recordias. So I've got orange recorded there and more of a purpley one. And then I forget what this stuff is on natural. Is that the stuff? Yeah, because there's 2 colours. So Matt really liked it, and for me, that was actually the original arch when I set up the tank. And I didn't like the encrusting stuff, but it seems to settle quite nicely, and it doesn't grow any further than on that little arch there. You can see, which is quite nice. So it stays at that. It's not stinging the rainbow chalice yet, which was a bit of a concern whether we'd start stinging the bottom of that. But from what I understand, they might sting a little bit, but probably the LPS and the chalice has probably got better sting than what they've got on anyway. Back up to the top of the tank. You can see there, I've got a bit of Digi. Digi's a bit of a weed. It seems to pop up all over the place, so I can't get rid of it completely. There's a little whitey sort of, it's got like a blue skin with white polyps, and it's just basic stag. Behind, you can't really see it, but behind that, there's a green tenuis. I'll maybe turn the pumps off a minute and do a bit of a top down for you, I suppose, because you'll see them a bit better. This pink one here, very fluffy. That's a pink lemonade. The one in the middle, yellow, that's a yellow millie. This one is my first ever macro, and I got that from I was down in Poole doing some work, and it's got you guys. Oh, they've been on the Friday Night Live with Christian Sean, Acroman.
Sean Russell.
Yeah. So I spoke to him when I first started ever getting to Acros. He was where I first started before I met Christian, and that was his original one I got down there. It's nothing fancy. It's just a basic stag. It's got some nice purpley tips with some greeny sort of skin to it. It does really well. It then got a nice bit of PC rainbow, and that's where, do you know, I started to try to put, when I was gluing them to the actual Rockscape, I started putting them on an angle. I can't remember why I'd done that, but I was watching something on YouTube. I think it's Cold Euphoria, Abe. Yeah, Cold Euphoria. And he said about mounting some of his on a more an angle rather than standing them upright. So I tried that with that, but you can see there, it's literally just basted out over everything, and it's still not really grown outwards. And it's been in there probably about 3 years now. But it's a nice red sort of colour with some green behind it, which is nice. You see my hat, so I've got a bit of a hammer arch. So there's a nice green one there, followed by a gold one. I used to, so yeah, there's always one in the tank which having a bit of an off day, but you see I've got like a multicolored greeny purpley one there. There is a space in the middle there because I did have an orange one, but again, I need to move the gold one down a bit to fill the space up because they started to grow into each other and I started to lose heads. So I just need to move that one down so it spreads them all out. I don't know why that one's sulking. And there is another purple one there. I've got nice pink gonny. When I first started doing gonnies, I had 2, and this one seemed to grow really well. There's another one which was like a greeny one, which just sort of, I don't know, people say gonnies are a bit hit and miss. You never quite know. And in my case, that definitely was. And unfortunately, it just died. I couldn't help it. It just didn't work. Another chalice. I forget exactly what that's called. Quite changed light, didn't it? But again, it's just grown nicely. I have my second clam. Get away. More of a bluey sort of clam. I've got a couple more of acros. Again, I'm not very good with names, and I apologise to Christian, but I just know they're acros. But I quite like the one in the middle. It's like a purpley with some like orangey sort of polyps, which looks quite nice. This one here's more of a paley sort of pink one. There's another smooth there with a bit of digi growing in the back. And I think I used to think that was a more of Miyagi talk, but I think and I bought it thinking it was a Cali talk, but I think it's more Miyagi talk, like I've got on the other side, which is a bit annoying. And you also see that I've got my porcelain anemone crab top there. I've got another pink sort of tenuis, and then right at the back there, you see I've got my big ball of candy canes, which is growing quite nicely. There is a bit more green. I think that's Montipora, and that is just I can't. It just pops up, and I can't get rid of it. So yeah.
You have so much coral in such a small tank, but it doesn't look rammed full. I mean, this view you're showing right now, it is so nice. It's beautiful.
It's come on really nicely, and like I said, it's only the last. So I suppose. Well, actually, it's always been looking all right, but the acros in the last about 18 months have really started to sort of take off, and I think it's like you said. So, the tank itself is probably about 4 years since we had COVID and it was over the other side. I think since I moved it, it's now been in this position for about 18 months. But obviously, I moved everything across, so all of the bacteria and crap like that come over. But having it settled and things like I don't know if the modern reef stuff makes a difference. It makes a difference for me because it's just ease of use. I'm not going to worry about dripping calc all the time and having to top it up. Again, it's just easy. So I don't know. Do you want me to see if I can do a top down so you can actually look at them above, maybe? I'll tell you what. Let me just turn everything off. I don't often look at it from top down.
What you've done in a small space, like Ron said, is just incredible. When I saw it, I absolutely fell in love with it, and so did the missus.
Yeah, to be fair, everybody who comes round to look at it, they all quite like it. Even my mates like it. I need a little step.
Oh, never midget joke.
Well, I'm not that tall. I'm like 5'10", so yeah, I'm not midget, but I'm not exactly tall.
Exactly the same.
Oh yeah, there you go. You can actually see it above.
Well, so Dav, just more than 5'10", Dave.
Not in my fucking stilettos, brother.
Yeah. So you see all the clams there. You've got the mushrooms at the back, Space Invader, the Favia. Got the frog spawns. You got that yellow. You probably couldn't see it before, but that yellow Pikachu that is really bright and it has got some lovely tips to it. So that's all good. I've actually got another acro there, and that's a new tennis. That only went in last week, so it's a bit off color. It's not quite as pink as it should be, but hopefully that'll pick up over the next few weeks. This pink one here, that's another Millie, and that's another one of those ones where I stuck it on its side rather than have it stuck up. So you've got Digi, you've got that other sort of white stag with its thing on the back. Got tennis right at the back there, which I quite like it. When I tried a tennis once before, and I think I probably tried it too early in my sort of life in reef keeping, and it just died off. Yeah, you got all the Enchada top down on that, which looks quite nice. Got fox face. I always get paranoid about him, to be fair. He always comes up, and to be fair, he would eat out of my hand. He'll have a bit of seaweed out of my hand, but I don't know, just hit and miss with those spikes. I don't fancy getting spiked. You got the PC Rainbow. You got all the others from top down. My candy cane, it is a big ball. You can see at the back there. I had to move everything around just to get out of the back out of the way in the end. I don't. Can you see the pink one? That's getting a bit shaded, isn't it? There was another pink tennis. Yeah, maybe you can't see that. So, but yeah. So that is everything, really.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And
nice, clean
healthy.
system.
Yeah, it is a bit clean. I'm a bit anal. Well, not. Let's turn it all back on before I forget.
Just so you know for the future, if you turn them all off, you only have to press one on and they all come back on.
Yeah, I forget that with MP40s. If I turn the why not? Come on. That's because I've turned it off.
That's why I just mentioned it, because as it was coming back on, you turned it back off.
Yeah. I always forget. Let's just put that back on. Doing this one hand is not good.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So that's me really.
Yeah, you've got some really, really nice coral in there.
Yeah.
Looks beautiful.
Nothing's killing each other. Nothing looks like it's totally shading it out. All your fish are super healthy. Not a nip and any fin.
No,
yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I particularly like the green Gonny or Alvy or whatever it is on the left at the bottom. That looks really nice.
Yeah, I liked it because it's like it's more like a purple sort of stem with like a green tip to it, which is quite nice. Yeah, and it sits down there quite nicely out of the way. I'm a little bit worried about the Space Invader because everybody always says about Space Invader and their tentacles and stinging the shit out of everything, and it is getting rather close. Yeah, but I don't see, and this is the thing, I don't ever see tentacles. Obviously, they come out at some point, but I never see them.
Night time,
come
mate.
out at night.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a little bit worried about like the slimer and the pearl berries at the back there, because at some point it's gonna, and that I can't. That has grown like I don't know, like 100%. Oh, well over that. It's just so much bigger than it was. It's a bit like my favia there. I like the favia. It's even growing onto the sand now, but it's lucky because it's not growing any further that way. Because I think the frog spawns sting it to bits and keep it in place. It's like the Pikachu there. That's actually on a loose bit of rock, so I might have to move that if the frog spawns carry on getting any closer to it. The only thing because I actually when I moved this green and purple one here recently, but I don't know, do gonnies sting? Because I know when I was playing with the tank today, under the bottom there's a bit of recession on the skin, which I don't know, maybe that's why it's sulking a bit, and I don't know whether that's stinging it at all because it's just getting bigger and bigger. It don't bother the clam, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem to. Maybe that's why it's.
Well, move Gonny a couple of inches forwards. See if it solves it.
It'll probably be easier for me to move the hammer, to be fair, and move it back a bit. So, but yeah, that's about it, really. I don't think there's anything else. I mix all my water outside. I have a little. That's something else I want to upgrade. I just have I want one with a powered sort of pump to it, rather than being just reliant on pressure. So it makes it a bit quicker. If not, I tend to turn my tap on a Saturday morning, then turn it off again at about say 11, 12 o'clock at night. Once it's done me 2 25-litre things plus my bin of water for my water change. So that'd be nice.
What stuff do you use, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to say that. I use Tropic Marin, which, to be fair, I suppose, yeah. So I'm now I now use Modern Reef. I used to drip before that, Kalkwasser. Before that, I used to use the Red Sea stuff. So when I first started, I used to use Red Sea everything, and I used to use their Red Sea Coral Pro Salt, which was like, 12 DK? They run it really high, high rise parameters. I then switched to the blue bucket, which, to be fair, I got on with fine, didn't have any problems, but I used to find it in my mixing bucket, I used to use a ton of scum. And that's when I'll jump to Tropic Marin. And I know you pay a bit more for it, but it is so much cleaner. And it doesn't seem to make it does do really, really well. And I haven't got any faults with it. There's just the cost of it, maybe.
The Pro Reef, Chris.
Yes, the Pro Reef stuff. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. But yeah, apart from that, other dosing, like I said, it's the Modern Reef stuff. That's going really, really well. I got into that when I was up in Coventry for the fish show during the summer.
It's a seriously clean system. Like
gorgeous, yeah.
It's kind of what everyone kind of envies, right?
Yeah.
I just want a bigger tank. That's all I really want. And it'd be nice to knock out the chimney breast. It's just like it's $5,000 to knock down a chimney breast. I'm going to put on.
Get yourself a sledgehammer. Happy days.
Exactly.
I'm going to hopefully hack out the chimney, the actual fireplace, so I can actually use storage in there. So, i.e., the things like the 2.5-litre containers for the Modern Reef, they can sit in there. I'm toying the idea of dosing calc again, but only at night time, so I don't get such a swing going from like 8 to 8.3 my pH, and just helps. I don't know, might do, but again, I can store that in there. It'd be nice to maybe get some of the electrics out of there and into there, just so I've got a bit more room underneath here. So, and I think with the tank size I want, it's something like, I don't know, say 42 inches by 25 inches by 25 inches. It almost gives me like 400 litres then just in the actual tank, plus what's underneath there. And for me, that's kind of, it'd be nice to have a massive 6-7 foot tank. But for me, because I'm away for work quite a bit, this is for me doing a water change. It takes like 10-15 minutes and it's easy. It's job done. I do a little bit cleaning the glass, a little bit cleaning the sump. I can do that, and like I can sit and watch the TV, get up, do a little job, come back, finish watching TV with the missus, get up, maybe do another little job, make up coffee, come back, blah blah. It's just all little jobs, so it's just nice and easily manageable. And it's like people say, you have a reef tank that fits your sort of lifestyle. I like it and love it. But if I got a bigger tank, would it become too much of a chore and I wouldn't enjoy it so much? Like I said, at the moment, it kind of ticks over quite nicely. It looks after itself. Hopefully, the corals this year are going to grow out more. Some of the other acros as well. It'd be nice to see some significant growth from them, which would be good. Yeah, so it's just
a
that.
very
Really
interesting, and I would suggest rare attitude for a reefer to have towards an upgrade, which is, you know what, this is plenty. I mean, everyone else is like, get that fucking chimney down, get a 7-footer rammed in there.
It's just for me, I'd actually much rather. So for me, I'd be happy with this bigger tank, and I'd like to change to like the Stratton maybe above it. Just because I think it'd be nice, clean look to it then. And
everyone's on the strap-on height.
Yeah, I want to get it boxed in at the bottom as well. That's a job which has to be done this year. Although I do quite like it when it's open, but I think the missus does want to change at some point, so it's all boxed in, nice and clean and tidy.
It'll definitely cut down on. I mean, it doesn't look like a noisy tank anyway, but
no,
a cabinet on that, it will cut down a little bit of the noise.
The noisiest thing is the fucking Trident when that goes off and squeals at you. And to be fair, it's the Deltec, and that's not an annoying. If you turn the Deltec off, it's pretty much silent. You can't hear nothing at the moment. All you can hear is just a slight hum from the Deltec.
And when the solar advances.
Oh yeah, the reef mat goes off like once, maybe twice a day. The reef dose obviously churns out 4 doses of each element every hour, all day long. But again, they're very quiet, and I'm surprised you haven't heard it go off. Well, that's how quiet it is. I've not even noticed it. The ATO with the Tunzi, I got the new Tunzi pump, so it's a lot quieter than the old squeechy thing used to be.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
do you get any odor from the reef mat having the open stand?
No, none at all. The only time the missus ever complains about the tank is when I empty the Deltec and I pour it down the sink, and she said, "Fuck, it is a stench."
Yeah,
but yeah, the actual reef mat never get any smell from it at all. And you see that it's not. I have seen dirtier ones. Mine it does pull out a lot of crap, but it is what it is, I suppose. Like I say, I've got a relatively clean. When I first had the reef mat, it was going through a reef or an entire roll at least once a month. Now it's more like probably about every 2 months, maybe just over. So it's like when you put it on there, it's pulling all those small little micro in the sand bed and everything. And once it's gone for all of those, then it's just the day-to-day stuff. I love sand bed as well. I couldn't run a tank without a sand bed. For me, it doesn't look right. I couldn't go bare bottom.
It's about the 500.
It is, and that's I can't remember, I mentioned this last week or something. I ideally they do the 250, and my S2 for the return runs at about, I think it's 70%, which I think puts it at the higher end of the capabilities of the Reef Mat 250. But for me, it'd be nice to have the additional space in the sump, and it might be one of those sort of things I do when I change the pipe work and possibly change the tank to slightly bigger size. Because it's annoying how they brought the 500 out, and literally it felt like about a month later they brought the 250, and I was like, you fucking what? I could have something half the size to be able to cope with my tank, which is ideal. But
they're a big old unit, the roller mats. It's a real consideration for real estate in a sump are these roller filters.
Yeah, and like you say, it is a big unit, but for the sake of me having to change socks and empty socks, and I used to hate it. So when they bought these reef mats out, I was like, I'll get on that bandwagon because it makes my life so much easier. There's the only food I put in is, so obviously Modern Reef do their big bottles, but then they also do these what's it called? Let me do one at a time.
Aminos.
Yes, they call it polyp. Polypop, yeah, whatever you want to call it, which, like I say, is a clear liquid one, assuming it's some sort of aminos or something like that. And then they do more of a foodie sort of, what they call it, complete food. And all you do is take, and this is all I have to dose now daily, is I take 0.6 or 0.8 of a mil a day and throw it in the tank. And that's it. It's tiny amounts every day. So it's just making my life easy.
Could you put that on a doser then, Chris?
Huh? Yes, you can. So that's something else I've been looking at. You can, if you have to shake it well. But if I get one of those magnetic stirrers,
Yep.
I could pour both bottles into a stirrer and then dose it, because I've got the Versas. I've got 2 spare Versas upstairs. So I could use a Versa to do that. I once had a Versa fail on me, so I then bought a backup one, but then I stopped dosing calc. And so I was like, yes, at one point when my Versa failed the first time, I then had to quickly whip all my connections off my reef dose, fill up bottles with calc, and dosing it every like 15 minutes. Each head was doing that for like 3 days so I could get my Versa fixed or sorted. So it was a nightmare. So I kind of realised that at that point it's kind of a heartbeat for me. So it just makes sense to just invest in a Versa as a backup, just in case I ever needed it again. But I don't need it now because I don't do it anymore. So it's one of those fads.
Versas seem to be one of the only products that Ecotake make that there's a kind of consistent failure rate with them. I know a lot of people that have had problems with them.
Yeah, that's the only problem I've ever had, and I couldn't tell you why, because I only used to dose I used to slow drip about 3.5 litres of calc in a day. I just kind of what the millimetre per minute rate worked out, but so it was only dosing tiny amounts per minute per hour. But it just got stuck one day. It just didn't work. But then the replacement that went for a couple of years maybe. So yeah, so don't have any faults with it.
Chris?
Yep.
Can you explain the Scully story so people know? Because that hasn't come from UK, has it?
No.
Okay, what's this story then?
Well, it's not really a story. So because I travel quite a bit, I'm quite lucky. Sometimes like when I was over in Denmark, I can pop to the local aquarium out there, which is quite significant. When I was over in Amsterdam's very near to a place called Dream Corals, and you've also had him Leonardo's Reef. Leonardo's, what do you call it?
Yeah, Sam. Leonardo.
Yeah. So, cool. Chain's gone. Oh, one of them's had a ship. They want the food. Yeah, so Leonardo's Reef and Dream Corals are literally 2 coral farms very near to each other, just outside of Amsterdam. I mean, literally about 20 minutes on a train. I'd finished work one day early, so I had an afternoon free to myself. So I thought, fuck it, I'll hop on a train and go out there. So I hopped on a train, went out to Dream Corals. It's a great place to. It's massive. They do in Europe. They seem to do things on a far greater scale than we do over here. And don't get me wrong, I use AAC. I go to AAC for a nice little look round, and they've got tons of coral out there. But Dream Corals have got trays after trays after trays, and they do lots. But yeah, they also they also ship to the UK via Ireland. So hence why I then got the Scully ship from them to Ireland, then from Ireland across to me.
What was postage like then, Chris?
Do you know, right? I couldn't tell you actually, because it's really weird. So you just you get onto the website. It's nothing. It wasn't substantial. It was kind of like probably just a little bit more than normal, maybe like €25. Which when you convert it down, actually at the rate of the day, it came in at probably like about 20 quid.
Not bad.
No, and Scullies are, like I say, you can't get them anymore. And did I enjoy the thought of shipping something like that over? Because it's still quite a chunky price. I was thinking, is it going to make it? Isn't it? But it did. It turned up okay, and as you see, it looks all okay there. It's very bright, but it's just now a slow process of waiting it for to grow.
Is that you spent on your Fox Flame? Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, so you can look at Christian's site, but again, so that was one of the more expensive acros I suppose I bought, which was from Signature Frags. But again, it's been in there a week. It's tucked away at the top there. well, I can't focus it now. It actually looked quite nice top down, to be fair. But yeah, it was a nice chunky frag when it turned up, and hopefully that'll take on quite nicely.
Sorry, Russ, on you go.
Is the shipping through Ireland something that's just always been done that way, or is it
well, technically, I don't know.
Brexit?
Yeah, Brexit causes an issue, them shipping directly to the UK.
Yeah.
So I suppose if they find a loophole and a way they can get it into Ireland and get it across, then that's something they might take advantage of.
Well, yeah, and I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, but I was going to ask, has Brexit made it harder to reef?
Big time.
I think in Northern Ireland they're still allowed to take shipments from the EU, and that's how they get around it. I read something about it this morning, funny enough.
I was going to ask, is that Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, and do you need a third party, or is it all taken care of?
Yes, it's all done. So I literally just hit the send button, and it comes via Ireland. I couldn't tell you where in Ireland or who in Ireland. It just comes via Ireland.
Interesting. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
So if nobody has any other questions, then we'll wrap this tour up. Chris, you have been, without fail, the most organised and prepared tour we've ever had. It was like you had it all written down.
The no cameras makes us behave.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does a wee bit.
I have the joys and delights of talking for a living, so to stand up and do presentations and just talk about shit all day, that's what I get paid to do generally.
Ah, you're a professional.
I thought he sounded really professional, man. Very yeah.
But no, glad you enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoy it, and it's keeps me. It's not because I work from home a lot as well, so it's nice to come down during the day. I have coffee, sit down, watch the fish tank for a bit, feed the fish, maybe do a little job on the tank, then go back upstairs and go on some work. So for me, it's just kind of ideal.
Yeah, perfect. It shows that you do care for it. It's absolutely amazing.
Stunning, Chris.
Yeah. No, well, thank you so much, Chris. And if anyone wants to continue this chat, you can jump over onto the Discord. I'm driving down to Yorkshire tomorrow at 4:00 in the morning, so I can't hang about, I'm afraid. And I will not probably be able to upload this until later on in the week. So watch this space for that. I might take my laptop with me if I get some time. I'll try and get it done. But other than that, thank you so much, Chris. And
thank you.
We'll see everybody on the next one. Chris, are you aware of the kind of how we do this? So
yeah, you have a general intro, who I am, what I do, where my reefing sort of started, that kind of thing. And then whiz around the tank, what's underneath it, what's above it, what's in it. Any open questions, and away you go.
My man. Jeez, I didn't
Yeah, I have seen a few. I have watched a few, so...
Have you watched Jason's?
Don't ask me. You have to tell me about a tank. I don't do names very well. I'm shit with names.
The sleeveless reefer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you mean now. Yeah.
Fuck you, Ron.
Fuck you, Ron.
Famous. He's fucking famous.